So just to start with the agenda, give you a sense of what we plan to cover today. We're going to give a quick sense of introductions, who we are as a company. We'll introduce ourselves, myself and my co-founder who is on this webinar with me. We'll touch a little bit on why we decided to run this webinar now, why we think this is important and helpful for government agencies across the country. And then we're going to dive into the content, starting with what the benefits of virtual inspections are, what some of your technology options may be if this is an area you're interested in, how to run a successful virtual inspections program. And then towards the end, we've saved some time to give a demonstration of how our virtual inspection solution works, just to give you a sense of how one of these technologies could function for a real inspection. And then, like I mentioned, at the end, we will make sure to leave plenty of time for Q&A if there is any. So quick intros. Mike, you're on here with me?
Yes, I am. I'm here.
Awesome. So have a very special guest here today for this webinar, and it's our CEO and my co-founder, Mike Rosengarten. Mike and I have been working together for a long time. We're good friends, so this should be, I think, a fun webinar. We're also co-founders at Camino and have started other government technology companies together. Now, we're not going to spend a ton of time today talking about our company, but just wanted to give a little context about what we do. At Camino, we build technology for permitting and licensing processes. And what we really care about is bringing innovation into those areas of government. And a lot of what we think about is how to improve customer service for your customers. But we also are trying to think through all the different ways we can bring more automation into your processes, bring better technology into your work to help you save time, save money, and make everybody's lives easier. So again, just that's a little bit about us. Like I said, we're the two founders of this company, and we're super thrilled to give you an overview of what we've learned about this world. So why are we doing this? I do think it's helpful to touch on this a little bit because there's a lot of topics that we could talk about in a webinar, and we've done other webinars this year on different topics, but we felt touching on virtual inspections was really timely and really important right now for a few different reasons. Like I mentioned, one of the areas that we've spent a lot of time with is helping bring technology into government permitting workflows, specifically figuring out how to help various cities, counties, towns go remote with that type of work. Now that a lot of permit reviewers, inspectors have to work from home, we've helped them basically create digital counters where people can submit plans, applications, pay their fees, all online. And while that had been going great, we had not yet tackled the inspection side. A lot of inspections were either still happening in person or just weren't happening at all due to shutdowns early on because of COVID. And so there became this urgency over the summer to figure out how we could take the inspection process and allow that to happen remotely, allow inspectors to work from home or from the office where they couldn't drive on site. And we've seen that trend continuing and just becoming more and more important. So we felt like it was important that we put together some of this content of our learnings and share what other communities are doing to address that challenge. At the same time, we've also heard from a lot of our customers and partners that they may be facing budget cuts over the coming year. Now, obviously, we hope that doesn't happen, and we hope the cuts are as small as possible, but we know in some cases they won't be. And so we have also been told in many cases that cities are needing to find ways to save money in the inspection process, in the permitting process, and adopting a virtual inspection solution can often be a good way to do that. So, Mike, you've been a proponent of virtual inspections for a long time. I mean, we've talked about this concept for years, well before COVID even hit. You want to speak to some of why you have been so excited about virtual inspections?
Yep, happily. Yeah, I think the benefits of going virtual make a lot of sense for a lot of other parts of the permit process stack, but I think in particular, the actual inspections themselves represent a great opportunity to go virtual because there is just fixed cost to driving. There's the time you spend on the actual FTE employee. There's the time you spend on fuel. There's parking tickets and plenty of other things that happen. And so I think that there's also just the frank, what happens when you show up and the homeowner's not there, the developer's not there, or something goes wrong, or the weather changes. From our customers, we've heard all of this over the many years. So the first benefit is there's a significant cost savings. The second benefit though, and this is more akin to what's going on with COVID and a very kind of timely instigating factor, is that some people don't feel safe with other folks coming into their home. Some people don't feel safe going into other people's homes. If you're like me and you have some older grandparents at home, I get on a plane and now I have to quarantine for 2 weeks. I just have to be safe. And I think that item number 2 here speaks to keeping everybody feeling safe, and remote is a good solution to that. I think it's also just better for the world, just like how a lot of cities have moved away from taking blueprints, 5, 6, 7 copies of these 30+ pages. I think it's going virtual helps here too. And ultimately, I think most important part, even though it sits at the end, I wanted to end on is, I think the customers end up being happier. If you've done these projects, it's nice to know that, well, I have this little 30-minute window here and the inspector doesn't have to drive to me, so I can get this done. And if something doesn't go right in this window, then it's not the end of the world. I can do on a different day, but because it's digital, because it's remote, it's a lot easier to get it done. And then it's also a lot easier to deal with the issues if they come up around rescheduling, et cetera.
Yeah. I mean, Mike and I have each gotten permits personally, and it's interesting, years ago when we were starting to build Camino, we'd said, wouldn't it be cool if when we put that new water heater in, we didn't have to waste somebody's time coming out to look at it, and we could just take a photo and send it in. So it's really neat to see that concept starting to come to life with a lot of different agencies. So, to Mike's, first point here, money, obviously, again, money's not everything. There's a lot of benefits to virtual inspections. But again, given that we know a lot of agencies are facing potential budget cuts, I do think it's important to touch on how you can make each dollar go further. And oftentimes when we start talking to an organization about virtual inspections, their response is, well, I'm not sure I have money to do this. In reality, virtual inspections enables you to do more. It actually saves your organization a substantial amount of money over time. And it gives you more resources to hire more employees or adopt other technologies or run innovation programs. And ultimately, this will free up money in your budget rather than eating into it. And so just some like basic napkin math here of how that might work out. Our customers tell us on average, an inspection might require, say, 30 minutes of driving. I mean, we have some big counties where it might be an hour, 2 hours of driving. Let's just say it's 30 minutes. And let's just say on average that when you factor in fuel and vehicle maintenance and then the cost of a $100,000 plus employee, you might be looking at $50, $60 an hour on travel. So even if you're doing 1,000, 10,000, 50,000 inspections a year, I mean, these can really start to add up to pretty meaningful sums of money that somebody has to pay for. You're either charging more in your permit fees to cover this, or it's coming out of the budget. But regardless, that is money that, if freed up, you can use for a lot of different things. So again, just think it's helpful to touch on this and really drive home the case for why this is not an expense, right? This can help save money in the long run. So before diving into the rest of the content, like I said, I do want to open up a poll here quickly, and I'm going to launch this to give people a little time to respond. But we are curious, and we'll share the results here, just where people are currently regarding virtual inspections. Is this something that you're already doing? Is this something you're thinking about? Is this something that you're really not that interested in and you're just here to learn? I think it's helpful to kind of get that sense for where people on this call are, because we have about 200 agencies currently represented on this webinar, so it should be some interesting data. And we did have a question come in. Somebody was asking, when just basically how you're able to get the full context for what's going on at a construction site when you're not able to go in person. So this is a great question, Earl, and we will absolutely speak to that. Actually, that's one of the things we're going to talk about coming up. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and end the poll here. I mean, some more people are responding, but we have a good chunk of responses coming in. And so I'm going to go ahead and end that. and let's look at the results. So it looks like the vast majority of organizations here, about 50%, have explored doing some virtual inspections, but have not really done anything formally. About a third actually do have a formal virtual inspections program, and then the rest are have not tried anything at all. So this is actually pretty interesting. It's a pretty even split between people who've done nothing, people who've tried it out a bit, and then a third who are doing it formally today. I did get one message from somebody saying none of these answers fit their situation. So please feel free to send us what your answer would be. That would actually be pretty helpful and interesting to see. Cool. So moving forward, you know, Mike, again, you know, you have a deep technology background, and you did a pretty thorough survey of this space before we developed a solution. And look, our goal on this webinar is not to convince you to buy Camino software. Obviously, we have software. We'll show you how it works. But our goal here is to convince you that virtual inspections is worth looking at. And if you go find a different solution that works well for you, great. Honestly, we'd love to hear about it, why it's working well, and we think that will be a big win for your residents and community. So we wanted to give you a lay of the land and talk about some of what these options are out there. I mean, Mike, do you want to give an overview of what technologies exist today for virtual inspections?
Yeah. Well, first, we wouldn't be fair to ourselves if we listed all of our direct competitors. So our first category here is products built more purpose specific for the government industry. So that's us, Camino. And then we move into, so let me touch on what that means. That means that we're going to have features that are specific to the workflow of an agency. You know, we designed for public agencies. Then you move into the second category, which is really third-party video apps. So, you know, our friends down in Santa Clarita, to give them props, they spearheaded virtual inspections probably early this year using a combination of WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, FaceTime, et cetera. So the second category is just these third-party apps. A lot of people have one on there. And if you're up to play the game of which app do you have, and your inspectors all install all these different apps, then you can approach it this way. These apps are usually a bit more generic, so they're gonna lack certain kinds of features that might matter for your workflow. And actually, as Carrie is asking in the chat, liability becomes a bigger issue with third-party apps because they often don't have some of the features that might matter to your organization, like video recording. And then you get into the third tier, which is the native video apps, FaceTime and Android. And again, they just have less features than the third-party apps. But at the end of the day, all three of these products will show you on a screen what someone else is seeing through their camera. And it's really a matter of which ones fit your budget, your workflow, your compliance that your legal department might enforce, and what kind of features you need.
Awesome, thank you. So, you know, again, obviously there are a lot of solutions out there that will help you stream a video feed, you know, from one device back to you. But again, they're not all the same, and there are quite a lot of variations. So we thought it would be helpful to call out some of the things that we've seen as important when selecting a virtual inspection solution. And really, these came from agencies that we work with. We asked them, like, what do you look for? And these were the top things. First and foremost, you want to try to find a solution that will work on any device, right? Because people have all sorts of different types of phones. They could be Android, they could be on an iPhone, they could be using a tablet. So you want something that's going to work pretty generically and seamlessly. Related to that, it's important that you look for something that does not require an app to be installed. If you have to download an app or install software or create an account or any of the above, you are just asking for technical headaches on everybody's side. You've now asked the contractor to go figure out how to install a new piece of software on their device before this inspection, figure out how it works, create the account. It's just a lot of friction that if you can avoid, it is really good to not have in that process because it's already a new thing for people to figure out. So again, removing that sort of element of the overhead is helpful. A couple other things, you know, if you're paying more than a few dollars or a couple dollars per inspection, you're really paying too much for a virtual inspection solution. You know, we've investigated the tech here pretty thoroughly. There's no reason that a vendor should be charging you more than this to deliver this service. So if they are, again, encourage you to look elsewhere. And then finally, some things that can be really helpful during an inspection are the ability to take notes, capture the screen. As Mike noted, record the call for liability reasons later. Not all of the solutions that do video will let you record, for example. So it's helpful to make sure that you're going to get at least some of these features out of whatever you're using. Another important topic here is when virtual inspections make sense. We've been getting some questions and chat messages to us asking about different use cases. And I think it's really key to call out upfront that you are not going to use virtual solutions for every type of inspection. I mean, that absolutely would not make sense. If somebody's building, a new Class A office building, obviously not going to do that virtually. If somebody's building a hospital, you're not going to do that virtually. Virtual inspections make the most sense for the tons and tons and tons of smaller inspections that you do every year. In fact, these are most of what our customers use virtual inspections for. It's little things like small, HVAC, electrical work, minor repairs, things like code enforcement cases like, hey, can you verify that you cleaned up that trash? Can you verify that you fixed that fence? Things like that. Also follow-up inspections. So, if you've gone out and done a more complex on-site inspection and it mostly passed, but maybe there were a couple minor things that need to be addressed, well, instead of needing to drive all the way back out just to check a couple small things, you could do that follow-up inspection. And actually, this gets to a question that was asked earlier. Somebody was asking in the chat feature, hey, how does that inspector get the full context of the construction site for big projects? Well, again, you probably can't get the full context on virtual. So oftentimes for the first inspection, it makes sense to go out there. But once they've seen the site and they understand the general project area, if they're going out for a follow-up on smaller things, that's where a virtual inspection could make a lot of sense. Mike, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the basic tips for how to run a successful program? I mean, we've been running virtual inspections with governments now for the bulk of this year, and we've seen a lot of things that work, a lot of things that don't work. And Mike, do you want to just talk to some of the commonalities we've seen in successful programs?
Absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, you got to give instruction up front. You got to let people have time to test out what they're going to need. The last thing you want to do is figure out how to join a Zoom. Start a FaceTime, work with any of these tools the day of, the minute of, the hour of. So clear instructions on the website, provide them when you're scheduling. We like to suggest when it's scheduled, you send out the instructions on how to test your local system. And then an hour before the inspection, remind them, hey, also, here's how to test your local system. Just helping them get ready. The last thing you want is a frustrated customer. Definitely should suggest they are on Wi-Fi if they can be, and if they can't be, they may be on cell. It's worth noting here, it doesn't matter what product you buy or what product you already have. If you're on a Cella using View Specs, if you got bad Wi-Fi, if you have bad cell signal, it's not going to be a fun experience. In those cases, have a backup plan. My suggestion is that you have that person just start taking photos on their phone and then sending those to you over email, text message, or through your digital portal if you have one. Nothing is going to solve bad Wi-Fi and bad cells. So if you're looking for that silver bullet, it's a little bit mythical.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Again, there's just a lot of agencies now running these programs successfully, and ultimately this type of program works very well. But again, it is helpful to have some of these things sorted out just so you're reducing the risk of something going wrong. On that note, there are some common questions and concerns that come up. I mean, we're also getting a lot of questions through the webinar, and please keep them coming. But these are things that we just hear a lot from different public agencies that we work with. The first and foremost, this again ties back to what Mike was just saying. People ask, well, what if the video is poor quality? What if the audio is bad? What if they don't have reception? And look, this will happen sometimes. There are going to be cases where just a virtual inspection isn't really feasible for a site, in which case, like Mike said, good to have a backup plan in place. Although, as you run a program, you'll start to learn which areas in your community support virtual inspections well and not. And if somebody calls in and you know that address is in kind of a dead zone, you could just say, hey, look, why don't we drive out? This may not work super well. One thing though on that point is, if you've tested out virtual inspection solutions, say a few years ago, and didn't have a great experience, tech has come a long way. LTE 5G cell is much faster than prior generations. And of course, modern phones have much, much higher resolution cameras than phones from a few years ago. A couple other things, he said, she said situations, these come up where it's like, hey, I saw this, the contractor said they saw this, etc. Well, this is where having the session recorded makes such a big difference, and why we highly recommend having a solution that records. We often do get a follow-up question of, can you record somebody's home? And the answer is yes, you absolutely can. It's just helpful to have some sort of a disclaimer and make it clear that the recording is happening. So for example, our software would let you set up a disclaimer at the start of the inspection, but there's a lot of other ways that you could accomplish that. A couple other things, data ownership, who owns this data, who can access it. Again, this is, important to think through. Obviously, each jurisdiction has different rules on this. In general, this is not public data because you are recording, if you are recording somebody's private home. I mean, it's just like how you wouldn't necessarily share somebody's blueprints when they brought them in for their permit. These oftentimes are protected data sets that, that somebody can't just FOIA. But obviously, you are going to want to find a solution that has good security if you are using a web-based solution for the video storage. A final thing that comes up a lot is, just the potential for fraud. When you're not on site, how do you know that what you're being shown is actually what was at the construction site? This is a real concern. It doesn't happen often, but it can happen. And again, it's why you want to look for something that's going to help you verify the location of the inspection. So again, we'll show you in our solution, we can auto detect the GIS location or the GPS location, but you'll probably want to have some means of actually having the person verify. Like if you don't have that auto detection, maybe ask them to go out to the exterior of the building and show the mailbox or the address or something like that. And it looks like somebody actually just posted a note that that's what they do, that they have people go out and show the physical site. So yeah, that can be a great option as well. So that's some background on virtual inspections in general. Like we said, we do want to also talk a little bit about what we've built because we're really proud of it and we're really excited about it. Mike, do you want to talk a little bit about what our solution offers and what we've tried to do to make this process work a little smoother?
Sure, I can absolutely try. The nice thing about virtual inspections, this is not rocket science. It's really just about building something that is going to have the right features for the right workflow. So Camino's virtual inspection software is very simple to use, doesn't require the app. It works on any mobile browser that has a camera attached to the phone. So it works on any device. You can record, and I saw one question which I did answer. You do not have to record. Our platform, at the very start, when you go to start a session, you can specify whether it's a recorded session or not. We have some customers who, for liability reasons, want the call recorded. And we have some customers who don't. We don't force it either way. But the notes that you take, the annotations, the image captures, the GPS location, the name, those things will still be captured and will be sent to the inspector. In either case, our platform doesn't send anything to the attendee or the person on the ground on the site until you approve it. So everything is always stored internally for you as a customer first, and then you choose the sharing viability of any particular aspect. At the end, we do automatically generate a report. Can be handy. I recently actually used our product to inspect a home that I'm purchasing. I'm moving to Nashville, Tennessee, and we used our own product to do our pre and post inspections, and it was actually pretty fun. It's kind of fun when you get to use your own product. And I think the biggest thing is that we tried to design this product to be cost effective. Like Nate said earlier, we've done a lot of research on this. I think fair pricing and competition is a good thing. And I think if you're spending more than $2, $3, $4, $5 per inspection, depending on the feature sets and whatnot, that's a good window, anywhere from free using FaceTime up to $3, $4. I think above that, and And I'd be hard pressed to know why you need to spend more than that. So we try to design a solution that scales really well. And it's something to look out for because it's a pricing model that may be new to government in your department. They kind of pay what you use or pay as you go. A lot of government contracting is kind of one lump fee and then unlimited use, but there is a cost to doing inspections. There is a cost to storing video, processing images. So I'd be wary of something that's $5,000 a year unlimited, and I'd be wary of something that's $20,000 for 1,000 inspections.
Yep, absolutely. So, one thing also that I think is helpful to note is, a lot of these technologies, and ours included, are meant to work alongside your existing system, right? So this is not something where you have to go buy the Camino permit system to use the Camino virtual inspection solution. In fact, we do offer an API. So if you have an existing permit system and you want to hook it into our virtual inspection solution to pull down the inspection results, you can do that. Or you can just use it standalone. We do have a good interface for managing and looking up the results later. But this is also something we like to touch on because it often comes up as another one of those questions. Hey, how is this going to interface with what we already use today? So, we noted earlier some different options that are out there. We've had some questions come in of, basically, okay, well, what are the benefits of using something like Camino, for example, against some of these others? And so I think it's helpful to call out just as sort of a summary what we've touched on. First and foremost, like we noted, and Mike said, Camino will work on any device. This will work whether you're on Android, iPhone, you name it. It'll work without apps downloaded, and that is unique to these other types of solutions out there. If you're going to use Zoom, you got to go download Zoom. If you're going to use FaceTime, it's got to be on an iPhone, right? So that introduces this overhead where, okay, now you have to have different types of apps depending on the device somebody's on, and people have to have accounts and things downloaded. Secondly, again, you're going to want to make sure that you can record sessions. Now, this is something that some of these third-party apps offer. Zoom, for example, does. Teams does. I don't believe WhatsApp and Facebook do, for example. So, if you're going to use one of those, you'll want to make sure that it does have the recording feature.
And Nate, on that point, Zoom does recording, and they also charge, I think it's $10 or $15 a month per gigabyte stored. So in some cases, the point of paying $2 or $3 per inspection may no longer be relevant if you're using an app like Zoom, where they have a different pricing model and price you more on how much data you store than they do how many inspections or video streams you have.
Yeah, exactly. So, a couple other things to note here. Again, the location verification, and then of course the notes and screenshots are also something that, you'd really only get out of a dedicated inspection solution. To my knowledge, these other applications do not provide those features. Now, just to be fair, on the final point, those other options are free. Something like Camino is not. And so, again, you have to make the best assessment for your agency. If you're not doing that many inspections, maybe you're doing only a couple hundred a year, something like that. Yeah, probably fine to go use, a free off-the-shelf solution. But if you're in the thousands, tens of thousands of inspections a year, you're probably going to want to look at something that's going to make your life easier and scale well. And again, we are confident that you will end up saving a lot of money, almost regardless what you're paying. Again, as long as you're kind of in that couple dollar range per inspection. We did have one question about the agencies using Camino. So, we figured that might come up, so we did want to list a few here. This is a newer solution, but it's taken off pretty quickly, and we have a number of agencies that have been using this now for a while. And this is just some of the organizations that are running virtual inspections through our software today. There are others. We'd be happy to provide a complete list or specific references if you need that. But yeah, like we said, just wanted to make sure that we were touching on the point. This isn't some prototype. It is tested in the field. So with that, I know there's a lot of interest in actually seeing a demo. As a reminder, please do keep the questions coming. we will be happy to address them. We'll try our best to answer as much as we can as we go forward. Although during the demo, it might be a little tough. So we may get to those questions post-demo. The one other thing that's a little tricky during COVID, of course, is making these demos work. We're all working from home, so we're not able to demo from our office like we normally would. But so we're going to be we're going to be invading Mike's privacy a little bit here with this demonstration. But Mike's basically going to act as a contractor or a homeowner for this particular call. So Mike hopefully is kind of ready for this piece, and we're going to get an actual inspection started here in a second. First, just wanted to orient you all to how this system works. So first and foremost, this is a web-based solution. So it's in the cloud, meaning, again, you can access this at any time from any device and also launch inspections at any time from any device. You can see it here. I'm just at inspections.oncamino.com, and this takes me to the inspection dashboard. So actually, there's a question that just came in about a dashboard component. And so, yes, that is here. You can see, for example, past inspections. I can, search for inspections by the, name or the address, something like that. And I'll come back to this later, but after an inspection, you can, of course, also view the report that was generated or view the recording if you chose to do that. But let's go ahead and actually jump into an inspection here and show what this looks like. So I'm just going to go ahead and start one on the fly. Now, we do have options to pre-schedule inspections and things like that, but I'm going to basically show you what this might look like if we just wanted to run an inspection kind of just ad hoc. Somebody called in, we want to take a look at something quickly. It's really easy to do. You noticed all I did was click the Start Inspection button. This takes me to this Start Inspection screen. And then the only thing I have to do is put in the attendee's phone number. That's it. So in this case, I'll put in Mike's phone number here. And then I could go ahead and start this session. Now, there are some other things I could do optionally. So for example, if I wanted to tie this to a permit number, I could do that. If I wanted to note what this was for, let's say bathroom remodel, and I could say, what the address of this, this site is. You can fill these fields in, they'll get captured on the inspection. But again, all you need to really put in is the phone number. And then if you want to invite other inspectors to join, you can do that as well. So you could list other agency users and they can basically participate in this. So you could have multiple inspectors on the call, all watching the same session. Finally, this was noted earlier by Mike, you can choose whether to record or not. So some agencies want to record all of these. And then some agencies want to record none of these. So we give you a choice. So for example, somebody asked, hey, can I just choose not to do these recorded? And so, if I want to not record the session, I just go ahead and click that button and it will take me to a non-recorded inspection session. So, helpful to talk a little bit about what's going on behind the scenes here. Obviously, we are not able to see Mike's phone. Mike should have received a text message as soon as this session was started. And basically that text message is going to say something like, hey, this agency wants to start an inspection, click this link to join. So all he has to do really is click the link on that text, and then he's in the inspection. So that's it. On average, it takes about 30 seconds for it to start, and we are live streaming from Mike's house. It's that fast, and we can't, show this to you, but this was all done just, again, through a text message that he clicked. There was no app, there's nothing pre-installed, and we're getting a high quality video feed from Mike's phone. So, Mike, do you want to take a walk down the stairs and we can inspect the bathroom that we're going to be doing some work on while I orient people to this interface here? Yeah. So, So a couple things here I just want to orient to you on the left while Mike's heading down to the bathroom here. So like I noted, you can put in different details up here on the left of the screen to just sort of track what this is inspecting and the different details around it. His garage looks like a construction site, so this is perfect. We talked about the geolocation. So over here on the left, you'll see this is in real time capturing where this inspection is happening, and it'll show you right on the map what the location is. So you can see the address of the home. It'll auto-calculate that. You can see the GIS coordinates here. So, when we talk about verifying that location, this is how we do that. Second, you can see the signal strength here of each device. So notice that Mike's signal is actually not great. He has 1 bar. Now we're still getting a good high quality feed here, but if this were to get choppy or unreliable, this might help us diagnose where that problem is coming from. Now for note-taking purposes, Mike, do you want to maybe show us the sync again? I'll go ahead and take an annotation of that. And notice Mike and I are communicating through this app. So in addition to the video, we also have audio. And I could say, all right, back up a little bit there. Let me just get a little bit of a better view of that. Okay, perfect. I'm going to go ahead and grab a screenshot of what I'm looking at here. So, that'll grab a capture of whatever's on the screen. And then I can go ahead and mark up and annotate things that I'm looking at in this screenshot. And I could say things like, please move this, etc. And actually, Mike, would you mind going back to the sync? And why don't you show us the heater under the sink there? I want to capture a picture of that too. And maybe the label on it. So this is a common use case, is you might want to capture text or things like that. So, I could say, all right, Mike, why don't you get close to that label here on the heater? When you get a little closer to that so I can kind of read it. Okay, perfect. I'm going to go ahead and grab that. So you can see also this will capture high resolution images of various things. So it's easily high enough quality to capture text on labels, things like that, to grab serial numbers. So, again, I could use this pen, I could, highlight something and say, note this is the hot water here. So that's how this works. As Mike's going around, I'm able to capture these screenshots, and this builds a little inspection feed over here on the right. Somebody asked what question these pictures are in. So these are captured in, I believe, just sort of a standard JPEG or PNG format. Now, as I'll show you, though, these images also get compiled into an inspection report afterwards. So you don't just have access to the raw photos. You'll also basically be given a report that you can pull from. Some other things to note here. In addition to the images, I can also take text notes. So I could say, bathroom looks good, though we should, check the heater again next time. Each of these notes, of course, is time-stamped over here on the right. So this will show you where in the inspection this note happened. So if you are recording the section, you can, of course, come back later and verify something from the recording, kind of like, coordinate those images with the recording. There is also a zoom feature. So Mike, maybe aim the camera at the opposite wall or something. So I can, for example, take over the zoom on his camera to zoom in on something if I want to get a better look before I go ahead and capture that image. So, just different options there as well as we're doing the inspection. And that's about it. That's how this software works. I mean, really our goal here is to get out of the way of the inspector and out of the way of the contractor. We don't want this to be, some over-engineered piece of software that you have to learn and, that makes the inspection more difficult. We really want this to be seamless, easy, and facilitate the inspection itself. So we've had some other questions. Somebody asked about showing a tape measure. I don't think we have one on hand, unfortunately, but Mike, do we have a tape measure down there? Mike's going to go downstairs and see if there's a tape measure we can grab, because we've had a couple questions about showing what that might look like. So we will see what that looks like. We had another question about whether the other user knows whether you're taking photos zooming in and out. So that's a great question. So actually, yes, when you zoom in and out, it does zoom in on their device as well. So you'll see that happening. The user does not know that you're taking a photo, but you can, of course, share the inspection report with them at the end, and that inspection report would show them basically what photos you took. So yeah, Mike, I don't know if you want to like measure something quickly and then show them, maybe just like measure this cabinet or something, and we can show what it might look like. Okay, perfect. So yeah, so now if you were to zoom in on that, and perfect. So I could go ahead and capture that, and we could mark and say, okay, great. This was at 21 inches right there, and go ahead and save that annotation. So yeah, it's actually a great question, and probably something we should have thought of to include in this by default. So I'm going to go ahead and end this inspection. Seems like, yeah, I mean, if there's anything else other people want to see, let us know. But otherwise, I'll go ahead and end this. I think this was a pretty good overview of how the system works. Looks like we're good in terms of questions. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end that inspection. So when I end that, that'll send a notification to Mike saying thank you. This inspection's been ended. And then, of course, I can jump now back to my dashboard to look up the inspections and things like that at the end. So really, really easy. Here is that inspection we just ran, entered into our inspection results. And again, if you wanted to integrate this with a permit system, something like that, to pull these results down automatically, that, of course, is an option you have. So we didn't record this one, so no recording will show up here automatically. But if it did, a recording would show up. It takes a few minutes for that to process. But this will generate a report. So let's go ahead and open up that. And you'll notice basically that this report will show a summary of everything from the inspection, along with the location capture, the notes, the timestamps, and then, of course, any images that were captured as part of this inspection as well. And the resolution and size of these photos obviously is going to be dependent a bit on what type of phone they're using and what that camera looks like. So we're always grabbing the highest resolution possible just from whatever their camera is. And then there was a question about whether the start and end time of these inspections is captured. So yes, I mean, essentially we capture the start time of the inspection, and then we capture the duration of the inspection. So you would be able to figure that out pretty easily from that. And then we also had a question of whether Mike can talk to you. So yeah, he can. Unfortunately, you all weren't able to hear what he was saying because I was talking to him directly through the app. But yes, Mike and I were talking to each other as he was going through that inspection. So yes, there's two-way audio, just like a phone call. So looks like that's the bulk of the questions that have come in here. Trying to think if there's anything else we wanted to show on this particular demo, but I think that's a pretty good overview of what we wanted to include here. It looks like we had one other question, which is, once inspections go back to normal face-to-face, would this be a good tool to keep and just use for conducting routine inspections, keeping videos, photos? Absolutely. And the answer is definitely. I mean, to be honest, the majority of agencies that we work with, they're not using this as a COVID solution. COVID may be another reason to look at virtual, and it may be something that makes this a little bit more urgent, but it is not the primary reason. The primary reason is what we've talked about: saving money, saving time on driving, being able to fit more inspections into the schedule, keeping customers happier, better for the environment. I mean, there's just a ton of benefits of doing a virtual inspection program that really have nothing to do with the current kind of pandemic that we're in. So that really is just another reason that governments have looked at this. But I believe many agencies will keep running these and expanding these programs into the future. And it looks like a couple people posted notes that they started programs before COVID. So yeah, absolutely. It's definitely, definitely a common thing. We did also have a question of whether you can email the inspection report to the applicant. So yeah, absolutely. Everything in here is hosted in the cloud. So you'll notice, for example, this inspection report, this is hosted on this link up here. I could take this link and email this. So I could download this PDF if I wanted. I could also just copy this link, put it in an email, send it, and they can click that link and open it, kind of like sharing a Google Doc or something like that. So yeah, I mean, we make this very easy to share if you'd like to. And as Mike noted, we'll add an option for you to just click and share if you prefer to do it that way. So, like I said, that's the bulk of what we wanted to cover in the demo. So that really is the content we had for the webinar. Again, thank you all so much, and thank you, Mike, for guiding that demo component. We hope this was informative. We hope this was helpful. I mean, we'd love to hear your feedback on it. We're going to stay on because questions are coming in, so we'll keep answering those questions, and feel free to post them. But like I said, that is the bulk of what we wanted to cover. So thank you so much for joining us through that.
I just want to have a disclaimer here. This is not my garage. This is not my gym. If things were not to code, this is not my problem.
Yes, I believe Mike is working out of his parents' house, who he's visiting in Tennessee currently. We had a couple other questions come in, so let me see what these are. So one is, can we download the photos to add to our data management system? So yeah, you can, and again, we can talk to you about how you do that. You can do it through the API or through the interface. Let's see, we had a question. It says, in Tucson, Arizona, we've been doing remote video inspections for about 3.5 years. We believe after COVID, our video inspections will average about 20,000 per year. What kind of pricing will we be looking at? Actually, that's the third question I see here about pricing. So happy to speak to that. I mean, look, we kind of gave you a sense of how we approach this. I mean, we've tried to keep this as low as possible. And if you have a question about your specific agency and what pricing would look like, please follow up. We can give you an exact quote. But in general, again, you're looking at sort of a cost of, you know, a couple dollars, $1, $2, $3 per inspection, just depending on how many you're doing. And as Mike said, it is sort of a use it, you know, pay as you go. So it's like a cell phone plan. If you do more inspections, you pay more. You know, if you don't, you know, you're just paying for the base amount. So, you know, if you're doing 20, 30,000 inspections a year, again, probably looking at paying around $1-ish per inspection. But again, happy to give you an exact number if you want to follow up with us. Looks like Mike's been answering some questions in chat. We had a question about Excella integration. So yeah, again, you know, with our API, we could help you set up an integration to Excella. We do have a partner that also specializes in that type of work. So looks like that's it. I'm trying to see if there's any questions that came in that we missed, but I'm not seeing any at the moment. I think that's about it. So unless something else comes in here, can you give here one's more. Can you give a rough cost estimate for a small municipality with about 500 small inspections per year? Is there an annual base charge? Yeah, again, great question. Happy to follow up. I think our base pricing is maybe it's like $4,000 or $5,000 is just sort of like the base. So you'd be looking at something around there per year. But again, happy to follow up. And
that includes a fair sized chunk of inspections.
Well, that would cover more than you're actually talking about there. Yeah, if you're doing 500 per year.
Yeah, we tried to have a baseline price that includes a large bubble of inspections, and then as it scales up, both the price per inspection goes down because we get our economies of scale, and we move into more accurate pricing. You know, a Fairfax County, Virginia is going to be different than a small organization, but the price per unit we try to keep as standard as possible. Yep. Most of our negotiation or contracting is really just around predictability of your bill. Exactly.
And yeah, I mean, again, as Mike noted, there are some base costs we have around storing the video and obviously hosting a secure platform. So, you know, that's around that number I mentioned, but for a small agency, that's all you'd have to pay. And we've tried to keep this as approachable as possible for organizations of all sizes. All right, well, I think we can wrap up here. Looks like that's sort of the end of questions that have come in. If you do have any follow-up, please do reach out. We'd love to chat, hear your feedback. If there's things you learn that were interesting, love to hear that. If you have suggestions for future webinars, we'd love to hear that. If you're interested in trying our software, we'd love to hear that. And you can always go to Camino.ai here to learn more about us or get in contact. If you would like a recording of this webinar, somebody from our team will be following up with everybody who attended this. And you can just ask for a recording. We'll be happy to share that with you. And you can, of course, share that with other people on your team who were not able to join this.